Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com, on Roku, Dwyer Boxing and Sports News. Also, Dwyer Crime Channel on Roku. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. You know, there was a fight years ago. It was George Foreman attempting to become the oldest heavyweight champion in history. And he was taking on a guy named Michael Moore. And Foreman admitted after the fight that there was a moment early in the fight where he saw where he could hit Moore hard. And he decided not to, because he thought that if he showed Moore how hard he could hit him, that Moore would then stay away from him the rest of the fight, and he would lose a decision. Right? He thought that Moore early in the fight would be able to recover from his punch. And he thought that if Moore recovered from his punch, he wouldn't have another chance to KO him. So Foreman didn't hit Moore as hard as he could have early in that fight. In fact, Foreman admits that he threw the punch, but he pulled his own punch because he wanted Moore to believe that he could take his power. So it's later in the fight. Foreman literally is just hanging out, waiting for another moment. That moment came later in the fight. This time, Foreman leans into the punch, throws it as hard as he can. That's how George Foreman lifted Michael Moore's title. Moore goes down, he's knocked out. Now let me say this, and I know it's counterintuitive, it's against everything we grow up believing. If you're a world-class fighter, and you're fighting a pretty good opponent, you're going to have to give away rounds. If you're a strategist, you're going to have to pull punches. Right? You're not in there trying to win every round. You're going to have to pace yourself. You're going to have to look in the mirror and figure out your strengths and weaknesses. Foreman knew he didn't have the foot speed to keep up with Michael Moore. He knew he had to sucker Moore into believing that he was an immobile old man whose punch Moore could take. Now let's talk about Floyd Mayweather. And let's talk about, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I want you to hold on to yours. In my opinion, these are the four most problematical fights he's had. The Castillo fight. The fight he says is the toughest fight he had. A fight against Emmanuel Augustus. The fight against Zab Judah. And the fight against Shane Mosley. Right? Those are the four fights. Let me say this. If I'm Berto, I forget about that first Chavez fight. Just literally, the first Castillo fight. Just literally forget about it. Because the Mayweather who lost, or who many believe lost, that first fight, right? And I invite you to look at the CompuBox numbers off that first fight, right? That Mayweather no longer exists. Right, Ricky Hatton was following that blueprint and found out that Mayweather had developed an inside game. Right, found out that Mayweather had figured out how to set traps for over-aggressive fighters. That Mayweather had figured out how to protect his body from non-stop pressure. So throw the Castillo fight out, because you're fighting today's Floyd Mayweather, not the Mayweather who stepped in the ring that first time against Castillo. So, let's focus on three fights. These are the three fights, if I'm Andre Berto and Virgil Hunter, I focus on. It's the fight against Emmanuel Augustus. Now, you understand why that fight was tough for Mayweather, right? It's because Mayweather likes order, right? Mayweather's rehearsed. Right? Mayweather needs to be alpha in the ring. Right? Augustus brings disorder in that fight. He's running red lights. He's daring Mayweather to open up. He himself is opening up. He's throwing a lot of punches. He wants Mayweather to know there's no hesitation from me. I'm here to trade. Are you here to trade with me? Augustus brings too much disorder for Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather wins the fight, but it's a difficult fight because a lot of Mayweather's game, and this is the situation with a lot of high-end fighters, a lot of Mayweather's game is his belief that you understand the threat he poses. Right? You should understand when you're running into Mayweather that Mayweather has a devastating left hook. So when Floyd's faking the left hook, he's expecting you to respect that. When Floyd is faking a straight right hand, think the punch he repeatedly lands on Robert the Ghost Guerrero. Mayweather's expecting you sooner or later in the bout to respect that. So when Mayweather's faking punches, he's assuming that after he's landed 50% of those punches, that you're going to blink, that you aren't going to be willing to take a left hand, to land your shots. He's expecting a tacit agreement between the fighters, that you're going to respect what he's throwing. Emmanuel Augustus respects nothing. Right? Augustus believes, hey, go ahead and throw that left hand. If it hits me, good for you, but understand I'm still on my front foot. Mayweather had problems with that level of disorder. The later rounds of that fight have Mayweather backing up, not strategically, but because Augustus is that active. The Zab Judah fight. If the referee was on his game, he would have counted the knockdown. That's what it was, folks, a knockdown that Zab Judah got on Floyd Mayweather early in that fight. Understand, if that fight ends after 4 rounds, Zab Judah wins that fight either 3 rounds to 1 or 4 rounds to none. Judah had a decided hand speed advantage. Right? Now that fight is known for a brawl and all this other stuff later, right? Involving cornermen and what have you. Let's just focus on the fight. You know, Zab Judah, I'm sure to this day, regrets his immaturity at the time of that fight. Yeah, the hand speed advantage like Zab Judah had, all Judah had to do to win that fight, in my opinion, was flash it. Right? He already had proven to the judges, he'd already proven to the crowd, I can beat this guy. All Judah had to do was not box Floyd Mayweather. No, after a good start like that, he should have stayed away from the chessboard. I know Judah doesn't have great legs, but Judah should have been backing up, flashing hand speed, flashing volume. The hand speed wouldn't even have to have been that effective. Understand, when you have blinding hand speed, and you have the best moment in the fight where you've hit the other guy and his glove has touched the canvas, which is what happened in that fight, then you can literally force the other guy to come to you. Understand, Judah has big power. And Judah could have flashed hand speed so a judge would say, you know what, Judah looked good early. He's active late. Who do I think won this fight? Right? The last fight's the Shane Mosley fight. Now, I'm sure this is a fight that George Foreman knows exactly what he would have done. Shane Mosley lands 2 hellacious shots on Floyd Mayweather, who then grabs him with both hands. Mayweather's holding on. In fact, Mayweather's knees buckle. Right? Mayweather's holding on. Now, I believe George Foreman is 100% right. Foreman believes that it's during those moments where a fighter is bent over in a clinch and has the back of his head exposed. You know, when fighters like Carl Froch come up on you and literally start hitting you on the back of the head, right, before the referee can break the two fighters out of a clinch. Those punches are some of the hardest punches. They're some of the most important punches in a fight. Right? This back of the head area where you see fighters leaning on and you see fighters clinched up hitting with their hand, that'll take you out. Your brain is exposed back here. You don't have the protection you have in the front of your head, right? This is right up on your brain, right? If Shane Mosley had just taken a step forward, he had Floyd holding him, right? He had Floyd hanging on for life. Rather than try to free his right hand to throw another right hand shot, what if Shane Mosley would have just taken a step forward? Floyd's holding him after all, and just hit Floyd on the back of his head. Look, man, I know what I'm talking about, skirts the line, right? I know what I'm talking about is, hard-nosed, dirty boxing. I want you to look at films of fights. I want you to look at, Carl Froch fights where Carl Froch does that repeatedly. Understand, you have to put the ref in a position where the ref has to do his job. Right? Understand, Shane Mosley, who has a devastating left hand, if you're grabbing his right hand, Mosley should have been hitting you with that left. Right? Mosley had Floyd Mayweather dazed and confused. Let me make another point. Shane Mosley's blessed with great hand speed. After those rounds, why was Mosley continuing to pursue Floyd Mayweather? Isn't that what a defensive fighter like Mayweather wants? Right? Doesn't Mayweather want you trying to pursue him? You've just had the biggest moment of the fight. People are buzzing. The crowd's yelling your name. Shane Mosley should have got on his back foot a little bit, forced Floyd out of his defensive shell, and should have flashed hand speed at that point. Well, let's talk about Andre Berto. Andre needs to be honest with himself. His corner needs to be honest with him. He has no chance, absent knockdowns of Floyd Mayweather. He has no chance, in my opinion, of winning a decision. None. If Jose Cito Lopez is giving you all you can handle, boxing-wise, you really have no shot against Floyd Mayweather. Compare and contrast Mayweather against the Ghost, Robert Guerrero, with Berto against Guerrero. Right? Look at Berto's face after that fight. His eyes are closed. Right? Berto's not going to be able to outbox Floyd Mayweather. He and his corner need to understand that their best path to victory, is to win this fight by knockout. It's not to bully Floyd. Forget the Castillo, Marcus Maidana model, Ricky Hatton model. Don't try to bully Floyd. Right? Don't. Floyd's an optical illusion. He looks small. He's not small. Right? Don't try to bully Floyd. Give that up. Right? So what you have to do is you have to bring disorder to the party. Right? Now, what I'm going to suggest is controversial. But, hey, you have to leverage your strengths. Andre Berto has what I call ring coverage. He can throw that right hand from halfway across the ring. Right? He can. So what he has to do is to not try to win rounds. Because winning rounds isn't going to get him a decision. Rather, what he has to do is a George Foreman type strategy. He has to come in the ring. He has to hang around outside. He has to bluff at his strategy. All he's doing, rather than viewing the fight as 12 rounds he can win, what he needs to do instead is to view the fight as 36 minutes in which he has an opportunity to KO Floyd Mayweather. Right? Not 12 rounds. 36 minutes. You're fighting a chess master. You cannot be at the chessboard. So what he has to do is he has to walk around the ring. Stay away from Floyd. Right? He has to bluff like he's fighting. He has to con the crowd and con the judges into believing that he's trying to be competitive, when all he's trying to do is to look at how Floyd moves. Look for opportunities when he can lead with power shots. He needs to throw his jab out the window. Don't get involved in combinations, right? Because the combinations gives a grandmaster an opportunity to make adjustments, and he's fighting the adjustment king. So what he has to do is, I hope what he's doing in practice is, he has to practice leading with that straight right hand, power shot. Lead with jumping, springing, left hook, right? You know, running inside and throwing an uppercut. Don't set the table. Don't give Floyd anything to adjust to. You have to lead with power shots. So what he needs to do is he needs to do what Manny Pacquiao should have done. Rather than charge Floyd and have Floyd know that if he goes over to the ropes, you're going to be by the ropes. He has to have the mental discipline, even if it generates boos, to stay in the middle of the ring. Do what Jimmy Young did against Ali. If Floyd goes over to the ropes, he needs to motion to Floyd. Say, hey, look, Blair, I'm over here. I'm over here. Come fight me. Right? If he walks over to the ropes, it has to be with the understanding, hey, I'm not going to engage Floyd. Rather, I'm going to protect myself from Floyd's left hook. Right? Now I'm just going to hang around. Right? Looking at him. Seeing if an opportunity arises for me to lead with a power shot. If you lead with a power shot and it gets blocked, you need to get out of there. You need to get out of the pocket entirely. In other words, what Andre Berto needs to do in a sentence is to power pot shot a pot shotter. Right? He should be thinking in terms of one punch, one moment. Right? George Foreman wasn't there trying to win a decision against the heavyweight champ on low volume. No, Foreman was there, and keep in mind, Foreman has a great jab, but Foreman was there waiting for a moment to throw that right hand. Right? So, Berto needs to be in there feinting and faking, keeping the other guy off balance, right, in an unstructured way, when really all he's hoping to do is to land a big punch. The fight that comes to mind that kind of, you know, puts together what I'm talking about, even though this guy was winning the rounds, is David Haye's victory over Nikolai Valuev. Understand, David Haye is outside. He's daring Valuev to come forward on him. And periodically, in a low-volume fight, David Haye would just throw a big left hand. Right? David Haye would just throw a big right hand. Right? Now, Valuev is a statue. Floyd Mayweather's not. Mayweather still has some of his legs. His legs aren't as good as they once were. But they're still there. There's a chance if Andre Berto isn't in the pocket, is a little bit outside of the pocket, and is just feinting and being random, there's a chance he draws Floyd Mayweather out of his shell a little bit. Because understand, the pressure's with Mayweather to make the public statement. Fans are still holding their nose on the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. This is Mayweather's farewell fight. Mayweather wants to go out making a good show of it. If the crowd boos the two of you, Mayweather has more to lose reputation-wise than Andre Berto. So if I'm Berto, forget about winning rounds. I'm here just looking for knockout moments. right? I'm practicing things where I just stand outside and look disinterested, then do a drop step and throw an overhand right. I'm practicing things where I'm away from Mayweather, then I throw a hellacious lead left hook, right? I'm just, figuring out how, if Mayweather comes close to me, I can just lead with the hellacious uppercut. I'm not worried about the combination. I'm not worried about standing in front of Floyd Mayweather. I'm not worried about outboxing Mayweather. I want to knock him out. If I throw a Sunday punch and it hurts Floyd Mayweather and he's clutching me like he clutched Shane Mosley, I have to be prepared to then step inside and to try to hit him on the back of the neck. Or to step inside. This is another move. We've seen Vladimir Klitschko do this. Right? These are roughhouse tactics at the top of the game. Right? I daze Floyd Mayweather. I step inside. It doesn't have to be a punch. This is a Vladimir Klitschko move. I take out a forearm. To the crowd, it looks random. I put that forearm on the back of Floyd Mayweather's neck. And with all my might, I lean on that forearm. How many Vladimir Klitschko fights have you seen where he's leaning on the back of some guy's neck? I'm telling you, few things drain you more. In fact, if you Google Shane Mosley here online, according to Shane Mosley, the turning point of his fight against Floyd Mayweather was when Mayweather leaned on the back of his neck. If I'm Andre Berto, these are the tactics I use because my goal is just to drain Mayweather so I can hit him with a Sunday punch and end this unbeaten streak by stoppage. That's how I see it. I wouldn't waste any time trying to win rounds. To me, the Harold Letterman crowd, right? The announcers who are the Steve Farhood crowd, the announcers who are going to be talking about who's ahead in the fight, are going to be missing the story. This is not tennis. This is not baseball. This is not football, right? The final score can be decided by stoppage. Whoever's ahead, that's nice. Why are we assuming that guys are trying to be ahead? Here in boxing, some guys are just out there hunting for 12 rounds. Now, if Soto Karass, boxing-wise, forget the stoppage, boxing-wise, is giving Andre Berto all he can handle, right? Berto has to realize he's not going to outbox Floyd Mayweather. This has to be a stoppage, right? He has to figure out the lay of the land and have a game plan for leading with power shots. And if he lands the power shot and Floyd is still standing, he needs to figure out exactly what his next step's going to be. Right? Getting up close, leaning on the back of Floyd's head. Getting up close. If Floyd's grabbing your left hand, pound him on the back of the head with the right hand until the referee separates you. Right? If Floyd grabs you and you have a shot at his body, take out a rib cage. Right? Try to hit him so hard in his ribs or his solar plexus that you know he's not going to be himself the rest of the fight. For Berto, the fight comes down to a few moments. He has to make the best of them. You'll know Berto has lost this fight if you see Berto out there with any plan whatsoever, any strategy whatsoever to try to outbox Floyd Mayweather, to stay in the pocket and to actually trade with Floyd Mayweather. Right? I'll take Floyd. I'll take Floyd in that scenario. But if you see Berto and he's suspiciously low volume and he's hanging outside and he's feinting and Mayweather is drawn out of his shell. Mayweather actually has to come to the middle of the ring. And Berto still not throwing a lot. Walking around. Looks like he has a long game, not a short game. Right? Looks like he's planning to stretch this out a little bit. If Berto's looking like George Foreman looked against Michael Moore, then he has an outside shot on this fight. If I had to pick a winner of the fight, I'd obviously take Floyd Mayweather. What I'm talking about is a tightrope act that most people don't have the discipline to pursue. Right? If I'm Andre Berto, perhaps I give George Foreman a call. Right? Because Foreman will understand what he's trying to accomplish. If Berto talks about the fact that he feels he needs a knockout to win this fight, and he feels like he needs to stay alive looking for moments. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Thanks for stopping by.